Installing the AFMS equipment correctly is essential for efficient operation. In this video, I will show you how to install the outside air temperature sensor, return air temperature sensor, and the mixed air temperature sensor. Wire each component to the AFMS controller. The first component to install is the outside air temperature sensor. We want to locate the sensor under a protected area to prevent incorrect readings from direct sunlight or damage to the elements. Also, we want to keep it in a place to allow for airflow. Avoid proximity to other heat sources, vents, or power wires, or a large thermal mass. Mount the sensor on a 1/2-inch conduit knockout. The sensor air holes must face down to prevent the accumulation of dirt or water. Use an 18 to 24 gauge shielded wiring for all your connections. And do not locate the device wires in the same conduit with wiring used to supply inductive loads such as motors. Make all connections in accordance with the national and local codes. Make connections to the 2-wire leads with either a butt slices or solder. Using wire nuts is not recommended. The 2-wire sensor is not polarity sensitive. Check that the rubber weather gasket is placed correctly between the enclosure and the cover, and then reinstall the cover and tighten the screws to create a weather-resistant seal. Connect the sensor's signal wire to UI4 on the AFMS controller. Connect the sensor's ground wire to GND next to the UI4 on the AFMS controller. Now, to install the return air temperature sensor, locate the sensor in a straight section of the return air duct, away from any heating or cooling or humidification elements. Cut a 1/4-inch hole for the probe in the side of the duct. Insert the probe and fasten the assembly to the duct using screws threaded through the mounting holes in the housing. Open the sensor cover. Follow the same wiring instructions as previously stated. Bring the cable from the controller through the bottom hole, and note, the 2-wire sensor is not polarity sensitive. Swing the door closed until it's securely latched. Connect the sensor's signal wire to UI5 on the AFMS controller. Connect the sensor's ground wire to the GND next to UI5 on the AFMS controller. The averaging temperature sensor incorporates several discrete sensors encapsulated in equal distances across the length of that probe. The complete assembly acts as a single sensor to monitor the average temperature in the compartment. The sensor can be installed onto hangers in the duct using tube clamps or wire ties. It should be located in a straight section of the compartment away from heating, cooling, or humidifier elements. Because of air stratification, the coldest air tends to be towards the bottom of the compartment. Hence, one of the sensors inside the tubing should be near the bottom of the compartment. Using the largest averaging sensor the unit can accommodate to ensure the sensor crosses the airstream multiple times. For the STE 14, 11, 12, 13, or 14 sensor, cut a hole in the mixed air chamber of the RTU, AHU, or unit ventilator large enough to feed the copper probe from the back of the enclosure. Insert the sensor probe into the mixed air chamber. Bend the probe tubing to cover the air path and secure as needed. Note, maintain a minimum bend radius of 6 inches to prevent damage to the wires or sensors. Fasten the enclosure to the RTU, AHU, or unit ventilator. Open the cover by pulling slightly on the latch on the right side of the enclosure while pulling on the cover. So now, using the STE 1415/16/17 flexible cable sensor, we cut a hole in the mixed air chamber of your unit large enough to feed the sensor cable from the back of the sensor enclosure. Insert the sensor cable into the mixed air chamber, stringing the cable to cover the air path and secure it as needed. The flexible cable can be easily shaped to fit any chamber, but observe a minimum bend radius of 2 inches to prevent damage to the wires or sensors. Fasten the enclosure, open the cover by pulling slightly on the latch on the right side of the enclosure while pulling on the cover. Bring the cable from the AFMS controller through the bottom of the hole. Follow the same wiring instructions as previously stated, and the 2-wire sensor is not polarity sensitive. So swing the door closed until it's securely latched. Connect the sensor signal wire to UI6 on the AFMS controller. Connect the sensor's ground wire to GND next to the UI6 on the AFMS controller. This completes the installation of the supply air, the return air, mixed air temperature sensors. To learn more about KMC Control's airflow measurement station, or to learn more about any of the solutions from the building geniuses at KMC, visit us on the web at kmccontrols.com.